to my channel. My name is Ina and I'm here today to talk about these beautiful flowers in front of me. They are called Dendrobium nobile orchids. Actually, these are not exactly the real nobiles. They are hybrids, so they are Dendrobium nobile hybrids. They're super common houseplants. You can find them in your local shop, your supermarket. So they are very common houseplants. That's why I decided to talk about them today. So please come along. I hope you enjoy this video. And if you do, please hit the like button and leave your comment down below. The first thing that we have to talk today, they are seasonal plants. So they usually start spiking in autumn and bloom during winter time. And this is their season. So that's why I have these beautiful blooms in front of me. What happens is in supermarkets and big nurseries, they can artificially induce these plants to bloom by dropping the temperature down. These plants, they carry a very special meaning in my personal life. So I'm from a tropical country, and where I grew up, these plants, they grow in trees. So everybody that I knew around me, they have peace. Basically, people share these orchids among each other, and they take canes and attach them to trees, tree trunks, and then each just grows and blooms nicely every year. And another thing about these plants is that every time when I was celebrating my birthday, all the orchid Dendrobium nobiles around, they were blooming. Which was very special for me because I always decorated my cakes and stuff with these orchid nobiles. I had no idea what they were when I was a child, when I grew up. The only thing that I knew that were beautiful flowers, and the tree became completely packed full of purple blooms. These nobile, I think, these one are very complex hybrids. They have less than 50% of nobile in its parents, so doesn't need an extremely cool down to bloom. It makes much easier for us as a home grower to have these orchids in our room. The ones that I grew up with, I think they carry much more nobile in their DNA. Why am I telling you all this story? It's because it tells a lot about the cultural information for these plants. So again, where I grew up was on the mountains. So although Brazil is a hot country, it's a tropical country, where I grew up, we had seasons. So basically around autumn to winter, the temperature dropped. In winter time, we had very cool nights. So during the day, it usually can get warm. So we have like warmer days and cooler nights. So the difference between night and day are quite big. That's why I think these orchids spike and bloom so easily in there. So that's the first thing. So if you want to have these orchids to bloom, first of all, you need to offer them a cool temperature during winter time. So because they are seasonal creatures, and without the drop down in temperatures, they won't bloom for you. So that's the first thing. So what I would advise you, if you live in a space where you have an outside area, you should keep these orchids outside from middle to the end of autumn towards winter. So when they are outside, you should stop watering them and stop fertilizing them. That's the first thing. Because then the orchid will understand that if you're not providing more water, the temperature are coming down, and that you're stopping fertilizing, it's telling the plants that the seasons are changing. So the plants understand that it has to stop growing vegetatively and has to start saving energy to bloom. So that's what happens. Another thing is, as I was telling you, in Brazil, they were always attached to trees, which means they are epiphyte plants. Which means they are epiphyte plants. They don't grow in soils. Oh, the noise is here. Amazing. I live in a flat in London, so noises everywhere. Okay. So these are epiphyte plants. They don't grow in soil, which means that the medium they are potted in should be very airy So air has to circulate across the roots. That's why my orchids, as I told in the other videos, are all potted in organic medium. I use sphagnum moss and bark, but that's just a preference. You can use other types of mediums. Avoid soils because they are epiphyte, but more than that, you can go with your preferred medium, the one that you find easier to repot, and that just get some information about it and you should be fine. So after you pot it in a nice medium, airy medium that will provide air circulation across the roots, you should water it like you water other orchids. The only thing that you should consider, talking about the season, you stop watering near winter, the plant will start budding, then you have blooms. If you notice that the canes are extremely shriveled, so if they are shrinking, that means that the plant needs water. So you can stop watering it during winter time, but observe the canes. As you can see here, I haven't been watering this plant for a long time. I just watered it once, I think. And the new cane is still okay. In this case, I didn't need to water it. It was completely fine. But maybe your plant is without water for longer and it's asking for some water, you can water it. Don't let it dry too much and affect the whole plant. When the buds are formed, you can start watering little by little. And also in springtime, you can restart fertilizing your plants. Because they have to grow so much in half year, it means that they will ask you to give them more water and give them more fertilizing. So they are heavy feeder because they have to grow and mature their canes in the months across spring and summer. So that's why you have to pay attention. They will need a lot of water, they will need fertilizing as well, and they will need more light. They are highlight plants. Please offer enough light for this plant to grow. And it will give you a lot of new canes, and these canes will all bloom for you in the next year. It's a very easy plant to grow. It grows vegetatively like nothing. The only downside of it is that it can become a large orchid. So be careful with that. If you don't have much space, I would advise you again to go for more compact type of orchids, compact type of dendrobiums. But these ones are a joy to grow. They are very easy to take care of. When I talk about lighting and the care culture that you need for these plants, I mentioned the plants that I watched as I was growing up. So they think about the plant, they're in Brazil, they were attached to trees, but they were not exposed to direct sunlight. We have highlight, imagine a tropical country, you have lots of light, but they were underneath the branch. So the branch of the trees were actually providing some shadow. So the plant was not exposed directly to the sunshine, which could burn its leaves. So don't let your dendrobium burning on the sun. That's not what I meant when I was mentioning highlight. Protected from the direct sunlight if you have strong sun. You can let it be during early mornings, end of the day, but be careful with direct sunlight. They are amazing, they are gorgeous, they can give you, like this one, lots of blooms. Because the white one, I think it's much more complex. It's quite easy to rebloom. If you want to go for one to try, I would advise you to go for the white one because I didn't need to offer it to match low temperature to start budding and flowering. Was very easy because it has very little Dendrobium nobile on its parent, on its heritage. So I would advise you to go for the white one if you want to have an amazing show of blooms. And I'm sure if you have low temperature, you'll be able to rebloom this one. I know with other Dendrobium nobiles, there are some that will require longer time in the cold weather to be able to spike. As I mentioned, the one that I saw on the trees as I was growing up, I will place the picture of them on the screen. They are purple with very dark center. I remember that these ones, they are outside for the whole year. So when it's winter, because the temperature can go even like close to 0 degrees Celsius in the night time. So they are exposed to these very low temperatures for like 2 months, and then they bloom again. So that's something that they need to rebloom. This one is already creating a new growth here. So it's already growing vegetatively. And that it will reward you with lots of new growths during springtime. And some of them, they can produce lots of keikis that are baby plants. So these keikis, you can remove them, you can gift your friends with keikis. You can also remove them and pot them with the mother plant. So you're gonna have even a bushier plant. I have a keiki from a Nobile that almost died. So I potted, so the cake is growing very nicely. I will also show you. That's a baby Dendrobium Nobile. I have another one that's in my cool growing space in my bathroom. This one didn't spike. I think it's not mature enough to spike. I don't know. Maybe it needs lower temperatures to bloom. I will see. This one last year, I didn't expose it to the right temperature, so I didn't have any blooms with this one last year. But this year, I managed to get it right. The show is not so amazing as this one. As you can see, I still have spaces here for this one to bloom. How can I know that I still have space here to bloom? So if you look at the cane of the Dendrobium Nobile hybrids and also at the Dendrobium nobilis, you can see that on the cane we have some nodes. A new flower spike can emerge from one of these nodes if there is a space. So for example, on this plant here, we have some old canes that bloomed before, so we don't have space here or here to have new flowers. However, when we look, for example, to this cane here, we do have plenty of space for new blooms. So maybe next year it will bloom again for me. The last thing that I want to tell you about Dendrobium nobilis and Dendrobium nobile hybrids is that they are pest magnets. So Dendrobium attract pests like no other orchid, or maybe I can compare that to Cataseton orchids. I don't know. I know that they do attract pests, and they do attract different types of pests. I had an infestation of thrips, and thrips love Dendrobium. Immediately attack its leaves, its flowers. If you have only one nobile or two nobiles, it's fine. Larger is your collection, more chance you have to have more pests inside your collection. So if you have just a few phalaenopsis and some Dendrobiums, it's totally fine. I'm sure you won't be attacked by any pests. But if you have more plants, be careful. Always look underneath the leaves, look into the blooms and check for pests, because Dendrobiums attack pests. Apart from the pests, a problem, they are super easy to care for. So if you provide them some air circulation across the roots, if you water them frequently across spring and summer, whenever they need water, offer them some highlight and some cool temperatures during autumn and winter, they will bloom for you. They will reward you with new keikis, new leaves, new canes, and new flowers every year. That's all that I want to tell you today. I hope you have enjoyed this video. Please leave any comment if you have any questions about the Dendrobium nobile type orchids. If you grow different varieties, I would love to hear more about you. Please hit the like button and watch this channel. I will be here every Tuesday and Thursdays with long videos and once a week with some shorts. I hope you enjoy it. If you do, please subscribe to my channel and I hope to see you soon. Bye bye.